That speaking of brutal, you're in VHS Beyond in Stowaway, the segment Stowaway,
Yes.
which I think is the sleeper hit of this one. It's not as chaotic at first, but I
Mhm.
love what grows in this segment. But I wanted to hear first, just very, very basic. How did you get cast to be in this little segment?
The answer that I keep giving is so uneventful, and I wish I
I
could
love
just be
it.
like, just ask Kate Siegel. I'm friends with Kate. So my answer is I'm friends with Kate, and I am the one of the only non-union or was non-union actors that she knew. Kate has a much nicer answer about why she had to pick me and why it was right. But really, we've just known each other for a long time, and
Yeah.
it's been a really fun journey actually, just like knowing Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel, and they've shown me so much horror that I wasn't familiar with otherwise. I bring video games to them, and they bring film to me in a lot of
Oh,
ways.
I love
Yeah,
that's what friendship's about. Like sharing what you
yeah,
love with each other and nurturing love of those mediums together.
totally. And they're so open to like me making them play whatever video game. Kate's actually coming over next Friday to have another gaming session, so it's awesome.
Oh,
But
hell
like
yeah.
they've
Okay,
shown me
cool.
like Shawshank Redemption and like iconic films that I had just not seen.
Oh,
So yeah, we've
okay.
been friends for years basically, and so much of indie filmmaking. The reality is that you often do want to do it with your friends. It's the indie
Oh yeah.
budgets. You don't know what you're really getting into or how complex things are going to be. So the best outcome is that you make something good. The second best outcome is that you had fun as well.
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, hope to have fun. So I think that's like a big part of it is it's Kate's directorial debut. We're really comfortable with each other. We have a relationship already. So it was awesome for me to get to work on something where it's my most significant acting role with someone I knew as well was really, really nice, like someone I'm really comfortable with. And I imagine it was
Oh.
also comfortable for her to work with me. So work both ways.
Yeah, because you do a lot of Twitch streaming, correct?
Yeah, I mean, full time I'm a game developer, so I
Full-time
make
game
video
developer,
games for a
yes.
living. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
Twitch streaming and make YouTube videos, and I've done a bunch of acting, mostly in animation and video games.
Oh, okay,
I
cool. So
have done
you're
some
used to
live
like the
action acting, but
voice. You're used to a lot of
yeah,
the voice stuff, but this is your okay. Oh, okay, that's
yeah, I've
interesting.
done like live action acting. Most of it's been comedy when I worked for a production company called Rooster Teeth. This is definitely my
Oh,
first time doing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
horror, which is like a whole other thing. So much breathing. There's a lot of
Yeah,
breathing involved.
yeah. Well, so were you actually holding the camera a lot of the time? Because I know we cheat this in found footage a lot, so I was curious, like, what your actual relationship was with the physical camera in the
I never
segment.
held a camera at any point,
Oh,
outside of
cool.
the very first shot where you see the camera reflected in the car. But even then, that is not the actual camera. That
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
it's just a cheat. So most of it was our director of photography, Michael Fimignari. We did have a few different camera operators, but a lot of it was me and him, sort of like waltzing, like literally, like I was pressed up against him, like with an arm around him to make
Oh,
sure I didn't fall or whatever. And I sort of have to like, you have to like really carefully move your hand in place to make sure it doesn't look like it's coming from around, it's coming from underneath. So yeah, we basically conjoined at the hip, especially for the latter parts of the movie. But otherwise, I guess there's one scene, sort of a spoiler, where I did have to do a lot of the camera operating. It's towards the end of the short. And basically the lens is repeatedly going from my face to somewhere else, to my face to
yeah.
somewhere else. And I did dictate exactly what they were doing for that, and that I was physically touching the camera. Um, and the reason we ended up doing that, and that like I was moving the camera, even though someone was still behind it, but I was moving it from a front, was that it felt the most natural for my delivery if I was the one controlling the timing of the camera rather than them controlling
Okay.
the timing for me. So, but otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, didn't nobody used a VHS
Ooh.
camera. It's all fake. Movies.
Magic, cinematic magic. Oh, that's
Exactly.
but that's got to be even harder. You're like, all right, cool, my first horror thing, and I have to be very physical, even if you're not on camera fully. It's just like a lot
Mm.
of muscles you're learning to stretch here, which I think is so cool though as a performer. Like horror, I feel like gets lets performers do so much weird stuff. So I was curious, like you said, this is your first horror. What was that experience like for you diving into the horror genre as a performer?
Yeah, it was tough.
A lot of
There are a lot of
breathing, like
things
you
that
said.
a lot of breathing. A lot of it was tough though. There were
Oh,
things that I didn't know that like obviously being friends with Kate, I know a bunch of actors that they talk about things and I'm like, shut up, stupid actors. It can't be that. Yeah, you're fine. Like, like things that I was started to feel throughout the process of making this that were a lot harder than I would have expected. And one of those was one of
Mm.
the days I basically had a panic attack. And I say that as someone who's never had a panic attack before. I don't suffer from anxiety, but I guess when you trick your body into thinking you're really afraid of something, you're breathing, you're shaking intentionally, you are, for all intents and purposes,
Oh.
physically terrified, but you're not mentally terrified. I guess my body didn't know I wasn't actually afraid. So we did, several takes of the same thing back to back. And afterwards, I had to stop and I basically started crying. I don't think anybody saw that, but I had to leave and go for a walk and like sit in the sun because my,
Holy
like,
shit.
again, consciously I knew what was happening wasn't real, but it was like my body was not aware of that. And so I had to ask Kate for help. I was like, I don't know how to separate these two things because right now I feel overwhelmed and
Yeah.
terrified and I'm not scared of anything. It's just a bunch of people in a room and a set mostly made of paper mache. But you can't like trick your nervous system into thinking that you're not actually afraid. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had no idea that would be a thing going into it. It was way more challenging than I would have expected, but otherwise, I think
Wow.
horror is really just a lot of timing. It's a lot of timing. Not dissimilar to comedy in a lot of ways. It's really specific
Yeah.
timing, and so that was probably really fun getting to work with Kate and Michael Fimignari on just so much of the timing when I would put my hand to where and when we would say what thing and where the camera was moving it was
Mm.
really fun. We just had a great time.
That's so cool. Well, and then you
Yeah.
got to go into this weird, I mean, again, light spoilers here, and I'll put tags for spoilers and stuff so people know like when we start talking about stuff. But you walk into, let's call it a cave just for all intents and purposes. And it's
Hello, Andrew.
so
I'm sorry. What was that? What you were saying?
excuse, I can hear my dog butt. But it must have been so cool to, as an actor, and to get to work in this really cool physical space, though. Like that you said, that was, it's still a set, but it looks so cool on camera. So what was it like physically being in there? Because on camera, again, with the grain, it looks so creepy, but I know it's a
Mm.
set. So it's got to be, what was that like for you interacting with that set and what they had created?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's paper mache. It's a full
That's
paper mache set.
that's
I know.
nuts. That takes
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. The set designer did an incredible job. It looks so cool. And a lot of it was very like indie filmmaking practical. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Kate
yeah.
was really specific in her vision about wanting to make sure that we utilized IR as much as possible. The infrared that we talk about in the short is actual
Ooh.
infrared lighting,
Oh,
which not a
cool.
lot of movies have done. Like it's when she was looking for references, she was saying she tried to find examples to show Shutter, I think, of other things that had used IR, and they kind of didn't exist. Like not a lot of stuff is shot the way that we shot
Oh.
this. So a lot of that is really
Ooh.
specific to the lighting and where lighting comes in. So there were moments
Uh,
where, she wasn't getting the lighting that she wanted. So we were there with screwdrivers, like poking holes in the paper mache, like on the day to make sure that it like fully came out in the way that she
I
wanted.
love
So
movies. I love
very,
them. So, I
I
love
know,
movies.
it's
You're
so
like, it's
fun.
like how beautiful this is. And we were stop and shit with a screwdriver.
Literally just
Like that's it.
screwdrivers.
I love
Yeah.
that. You're like, yep,
Yeah.
it's really quite glamorous here
you
on the
gotta you gotta
VHS
make it
piece.
work how you can. But no, it was cozy. Honestly, the set was cool. One
Oh
thing I
yeah.
keep telling people about that, like, I need to give the caveat that we had all of the safety operators needed and consulted
Oh yeah.
doctors and all that, but infrared lighting is actually really dangerous for your eyes. So
Okay. I
when
was
the
wondering
IR
about
lights
that.
were on, yeah, it's like a huge thing where I guess your eyes can't perceive the light, so your pupils don't know to close. So you don't like protect yourself from the light. So anytime that we were shooting with the infrared lights on, which again we do a lot, everyone else on set had glasses on. They would go, lights are hot, infrared on, and everyone would put these glasses on, but I wasn't allowed to because I have to be in front of the camera. So there were definitely some moments of being like, oh, did I just stare directly into that LED strip? And again, there's like really specific rules that they were really cautious with me about like how much exposure is a problem and all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. But it was definitely like at least initially very unsettling to have everybody else walk around with glasses on, and I'm just there like,
It's like everyone's
okay,
in a hazmat suit but you, and you're like,
totally,
uh-oh.
totally, and I'm
Uh-oh.
just like dealing
Wait,
with the
that's
light, but it
all I
turned
think of.
out looking so cool, I think.
Oh, it
So
looked incredible. That just makes me think of in Willy Wonka and or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when they're in the like TV place and they all put on the goggles when they put on the beam and
exactly.
make him
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah. It's actually the one thing that I took home from set that I still have. Because there are like various props that I wanted, but like they don't belong to me.
Yeah.
But I did take home my infrared glasses that I almost never used, but I did occasionally use when they were like lighting because I was like, I'm just gonna keep these infrared
That's a
glasses
cool.
because I feel like it's a cool memento.
That is. That's a cool memento, and like you said, no one's really done that before. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, this cool
And
thing.
who knows when I'll need them again? Never. But hey, maybe.
You say that, you never know. The next game you're developing has to do with infrared for some reason. I don't know how,
We'll just
but that's what
blind
we.
everybody who plays it. Like, probably not worth it.
Um,
Probably not. They come with free glasses.
yeah. But my last question, again, spoilers. What did you have any, were you in the design of the creature at the end? Like were you at all, were you covered in prosthetics, or is it something else? Is it a puppet? Like how did that work about the ending? Were you inside of that at all?
Yes. So there are two different
Oh, okay.
versions of
I was
that
curious.
puppet.
Okay.
Yes. So there's the first one where I think you do see a lot of my face. Half of that's
Yeah.
makeup, and then the
Yeah.
camera
Yeah.
pulls back. And
Oh, cool. Oh, that must have been
that
so
day
cool.
was it like was so painful, dude. Like that day was really uncomfortable. Kate was amazing. Like, I've worked with
Yeah.
plenty of directors, and she was there like giving me head rubs because getting me out of the wall that
Oh,
I'm stuck in was actually pretty difficult. So I was stuck in there for like 3 hours at one point, and
oh my God.
the problem with it was that so it's like I have to like lean forward with my shoulders and my head in something, and so my arms are like back, but I'm kneeling on the ground. So the problem is that I
Ooh,
didn't really
yeah.
have enough. Sorry if you can hear the washing machine.
Oh, you're fine.
I didn't have enough support in my arms to support the weight of my upper body, so I'm sort of being choked by the wall. So anytime that I was in there, I was actually being choked by that wall, and so they had to like pull out a box and then got me a nice little pillow for in between takes because it
I'm
was
just
really
like,
uncomfortable in there. Yeah, and then the second one, which is more of a puppet, was actually a lot more comfortable. That
okay.
is almost entirely a silicone head. They could have had somebody else do that, but I guess the puppet was made to my dimensions, and I really wanted to do it. Like
Yeah, you're like, why wouldn't
because
I? Like, I would like to
totally,
become, I want to see what
yeah,
I look like as the, like, it's cool. It's cool that
yeah,
you're in it. Because I wasn't sure, you can't really
exactly.
tell, but it's cool that you're actually
Yeah, and
inside
it's
of
it's
it.
cool for me to be like, I did that, and I didn't want to like lose that experience. So when I was inside
Yeah.
the last part that I'm puppeting, that is a silicone head, like I said, that is built to my head. So I had to like put a little cap on so the silicone wouldn't rip my hair and then sort of get in there. And it is very claustrophobic, but thankfully I'm not afraid of that. The only problem with that one was it was very hot. So there was a man who was like, because there's literally a wall. I'm inside this thing as a puppet. There was a man whose job it was. I did not ask for this. They just assigned somebody to do it, to turn a fan on. So I had a fan on my butt because you couldn't get inside the front of the puppet. So I just had this like butt fan to make sure that I was a little bit cooler while I'm stuck inside this sweaty silicone head. Because getting me in and out of it between takes would take way too long, like
Yeah.
across the
Yeah. Oh,
board. And it
yeah.
would be uncomfortable for me as well. Because like at a certain point I got comfortable and I'm just sitting in there and it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very, very cool to watch that from start to finish. Because when I first did my molds to make the puppet, and I spoke to Patrick McGee, who his team made all of our effects. It's probably not
Yeah.
the right term to use, but made all of our practical effects. And he showed me what he wanted it to look like as a little clay model. He was like, "This part will be your face, so we need to scan your face, and this part will be this and this and this." And then getting to see the production process and then getting to actually be inside it was super exciting. Like I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like such a cool job that he has as well. That whole team, like just such a cool, crazy thing. They just create monsters professionally. It's so awesome. So yeah, getting to have a weird, multi-animal hybrid monster of me was very cool. And while they totally did say we could have anyone else do it, I was like, no, I want to do it. It'll be fun. And so I did it with my nice butt fan.
Hell yeah. Well, and now incredible experience is like, I mean, not your first acting role, but like in like a film, like a horror film, like what a cool, you got the full breadth of the horror experience of like getting in the full prosthetics and getting that whole thing even in a
Yeah, and I mean,
short.
I had
That's
a
cool as
script written
hell.
by Mike Flanagan, so that's so easy to work with. I've had a few people ask me like, "What did you have to do for the character's backstory?" And I was like, "It was written by Mike Flanagan. Everything I
Yeah,
needed
I
was
was
in
gonna
the
say
script. He made it so easy for me." And
most
then getting
beautiful
to work
script you've
with,
ever read, like set a tear reading it, and you're just like, what the
yeah,
hell? Why are you
yeah, he made it very, very easy to understand the character and her motivations and why she was doing the things she was doing. I didn't have to invent any of that. And then getting away with Kate as well as a director. She has so much experience. Actors absorb the way that
Oh
directors
yeah.
work all the time, but she's also absorbing everything that Mike is doing and talking to him all the time. Like I basically had access to two just extremely talented people. So I feel like I had the easiest job in the world, really. Like it could not have been an easier way to do this, I think. For me, it was just a really fun learning experience. Like I had access to ask Kate anything, anytime, which was a wonderful thing that I'm sure people would pay for. So yeah, I just feel super lucky to have been involved at all. And hopefully we made something people like.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I love VHS. Have you seen it on the big screen yet?
Yes.
Did you see it? Was it last night? Did you go to the premiere
Yeah.
last night?
Yeah.
Was it
It was
fun?
super fun. It was really, really
Oh yeah.
fun. And the energy in the room was awesome. And there are some parts of it, like the whole movie, that I find funny because they're so gory. Which like it's so over the top that it's hilarious. And I love that about it. And I love that about like any kind of gore, to be honest, like any really gory horror movie.
Yeah.
And it was nice being in a theater because I've not really seen, maybe outside of a couple of Saw movies, not really seen a movie like that in a theater before, where people are like cheering
Oh
at some of the like
yeah.
grotesque things that happen. So that atmosphere in the room was awesome, and it was really nice to meet some of the other directors as well. So yeah, it was super
That's
fun.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you chatting with me and telling me all about your butt fan and working on this and introducing me to your dogs. I
Of course,
appreciate it.
anytime. They're the real stars.
They're the real stars. All right.